Do you plan before you even get into the room exactly what you're going to do in each one of those 10-minute segments? Do you have it like written down on a piece of paper and then you just put it on the stand, put the music and go?
I have done that. And I know people that have done that to a much greater degree than I have. I don't think there's any real limit to the amount of planning that you can have when you're preparing for something like this. Again, to mention Jen Montone's audition plan, it goes out something like 6 weeks or maybe even 10 weeks before the audition with a very specific day-to-day plan for how you're going to spend your time. I think that's super valuable. Mark Inouye, principal trumpet of San Francisco Symphony, I think he's still there, although he wins every job that he takes. He and I had lunch in Sapporo one time with the trumpet players at Canadian Brass. And I'll never forget it because he was describing to us his audition program. And it was like Jen's, something like 8 weeks, let's say, before the audition. He started doing a mock audition every day. Mock audition every day. Let's just say he does that for a week. That's more mock auditions than most people will do before an audition. But this is 8 weeks out. By the time he got to the audition, he was describing a kind of unbelievable scene of something like 7 or 8 mock auditions every day, in which he would vary the list order and the things that he played for each mock audition. So, I mean, that gives you an idea of the kind of organized and very detailed, meticulous approach. And that's, of course, just one part of it. You have to take these mock auditions very seriously, but you have to also plan how you practice your fundamentals, because they're not just going to be there unless you do them. You have to practice other stuff. 100% of people on the planet will go crazy just working on the things that they need to work on for the audition. So, yeah, being really organized, very meticulous, down to exactly what you're doing in every 10-minute chunk, yeah, absolutely, why not? Real attention to what you're doing. For many years now, probably about 7 years, I've maintained a pretty much daily meditation practice. I continue to improve. It's something that, just like practicing an instrument or becoming a master of anything, requires a lot of persistence and patience and continued determination. So by no means do I believe that I'm a master of meditation, even if that is something that you can achieve. But I will say that in the time that I've spent practicing meditation, it has taught me so much about my own mind. And I think that curiosity about how one's mind works is so important, because everybody's very different. It's nothing you can read in a book. You have to sit and pay attention to what your mind is doing and how your mind works. That practice has helped me become much more attentive and focused and mindful, no matter what it is that I'm doing. I'm using it right now. I'm benefiting from that practice as I'm speaking to you in the middle of this sentence. So it has helped me not only in public speaking, performing, massively important for performing, but in practicing and in cooking and in spending time with my family. Everything good and difficult in my life has been affected by what I feel is an ability to be more mindful and more attentive to what I'm doing. I think everybody has an issue, whether they will admit it or not, with becoming distracted, allowing their mind to just continually race. Paying attention to that and noticing when that's happening and directing your attention back to whatever it is that you're doing is a tremendously valuable thing, and I can't emphasize that enough. Learning how to meditate is something, obviously, that we can't learn right now, and I wouldn't try to explain that to you or to your listeners in such a short amount of time. But do some research. I think it's important for everyone to consider how it is that they can become more present in what it is that they're doing. We need that edge. We really do in music. That ability to be present is so important.
You said you can't really read how to meditate. Do you know of any resources? Like you said, they should research. Are there any like websites you like to go to or anything like that that you went to get into meditation and know how to frame your mindset or anything like that?
Well, there are a lot of books that I think you can look into. There are a lot of resources, a lot of podcasts and things like that. There are podcasts like Headspace, which is really popular these days, that will guide you through various types of meditation for certain specific reasons. And while I haven't used Headspace, I know a lot of my students and colleagues have used it, and I can recommend that with a certain degree of, I don't really know what it's all about, but I know that it has worked for a lot of people. There's an author and podcaster named Sam Harris that I've listened to a lot over the last few years, and he has written a book called Waking Up. And while that book is not something that I subscribe to wholly, I can't say that every word in that book I even understand, much less endorse. He does talk a lot about meditation and gives a very basic, simple instruction of how to meditate. It's early on in the book. That's Waking Up by Sam Harris. Also, for free, on any of the places that you might find podcasts, if you find the Waking Up podcast by Sam Harris, there is, at the very bottom of the list of podcasts, one of his first podcasts was a 9-minute guided meditation. And that's something that I still use here and there when I need a little bit of some help. So check that out. It's a bit of a rabbit hole, you know. Again, I'm not necessarily saying that all of your viewers should become obsessed with Sam Harris, because it's, you know, he delves into a lot of topics that are probably not going to be helpful for your purposes here. As far as the getting kind of started on a basic form of mindfulness, I think that's a good place to start, as good as any.
I need to look into that myself. Do you think that meditation and really helps you do all the different things you do in your freelance career?
It does, absolutely. I mean, there are always difficult times, no matter what a person's life is throwing at them. I can say that as you get older, when you get out of school and you need to provide your own motivation, and you also need to provide your own rent, and all sorts of other things become your own responsibility, I will say it doesn't get a lot easier. So the challenges will seem to be more pressing and heavier as you get out there in the world. And I think, yeah, a way of kind of stepping back from those seemingly unpleasant things and seeing that basically things are only good or bad because we decide that they are, and we kind of carry them around with that connotation on them, to kind of only see things as things, and see thoughts as thoughts, and feelings as just feelings that will come and pass. I think that helps tremendously when you're running around and when you're dealing with a toddler and trying to get out the door in time to make it to your interview. You know, it definitely helps to be able to be mindful in that moment and say, it's okay, like everything's going to be fine. No need to freak out. You know, that's super valuable, whether you're running around town or sitting at home waiting for the phone to ring, or going from class to class, or trying to prepare for an audition. Being mindful and super focused and attentive to what you're doing in the moment is always going to be helpful. And if anyone is skeptical about that, I just urge them to try.